seriously damaged. That's how Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi characterised the state of the Fordo nuclear site after the US strikes. In a sit-down interview with CBS News that aired Tuesday, he said it's unclear exactly what transpired, but Tehran will, quote, make up for lost time if uranium enrichment is renewed.
President Trump has touted the strikes as a success, and while our next guest agrees with the attacks, he recently criticized Trump's Iran strategy, suggesting that the president has personal motivations. Joining us now to elaborate is former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton. Mr. Bolton, thank you for joining us. The first question for you is, what do you think Trump has gotten directionally wrong about next steps with the Israel-Iran war after that strike on Fordo and other nuclear facilities?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the strike combined with the prior Israeli efforts caused considerable damage, not just to Iran's nuclear program, but to a number of related military capabilities. But one strike is not the end of it. Iran has been pursuing nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles for 30 plus years. The early evidence we can see right after the strike, they're trying to dig out the deeply buried facility at Fordo. They've given every indication there's no change in their strategic objective to get deliverable nuclear weapons. And therefore, I think it's a mistake to say it's over, we've completely and totally obliterated the nuclear program, and therefore it's not a problem anymore. It's a lot more complicated than that. And if you don't keep that future in mind, you're just sowing the seeds for more trouble later.
So what would be the foreign policy solution to get Iran to stop? If this strike isn't it, if diplomacy isn't it, what's the answer?
Well, I think the only long-term answer, not just to the nuclear program, but frankly to peace and security in the Middle East as a whole, is that it's time for the regime of the Ayatollahs to go on the ash heap of history. I think it's very unpopular inside Iran. I think the succession crisis over the Ayatollah Khamenei, when he passes from the scene, which won't be too long from now, he's 86 and not well, could well be the point where the people are able to bring the regime down, where fragmentation could take place among the military leaders, and you could see the thing crumble very quickly. I think that's realistically the only way they give up not only the nuclear program, but Iran's status as the world's biggest supporter of international terrorism.
And how would that be brought about, Ambassador? I mean, are we talking, in your mind, in your ideal scenario, about American military intervention, or are we talking about some other means? You're not just wishing for this to happen, you want some action to expedite it, I assume.
Right. Well, I think we've undertaken action to expedite it. I think Israel has hounded the terrorist proxy groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. We've seen the Assad regime fall in Syria. We've seen Iran's ballistic missile production capability destroyed, severe damage to the nuclear program, top generals and other officials, nuclear scientists eliminated. All of this is feeding into the enormous discontent that already exists among the population in Iran. They can say, look at all this, you've squandered untold billions of dollars on the proxies, on the nuclear program, now lies all nearly in ashes. It's not benefited the people of Iran 1 cent. That's the kind of dissatisfaction that can make regime change possible. It's not an issue of boots on the ground. That's the words regime change means you change the regime. There are a lot of different ways to do it.
But to that point, I noticed on your X feed you had tweeted a clip from another interview you had done, and you were making that point that it's not always military boots on the ground, but you went on to say, quote, I think we can provide support to the opposition and hope that it will be primarily an internal Iranian affair. But my question there is, if we support the opposition, then automatically it ceases to be an internal Iranian affair, does it not? And those opposition groups become discredited as the tools of America.
Well, I think you leave that to the opposition groups. You know, opposition groups in the Soviet Union during the Cold War welcomed American support. It didn't discredit them. It showed that they really were looking out for the future of the country. So I think we could be guided by what the opposition thinks. There's a huge diaspora of Iranian exiles in Europe and the United States. We have many Iranian American citizens with families inside the country. So I think providing things like communications assistance and frankly, just resources. The opposition inside Iran is nationwide. But it's not organized like a corporate hierarchy. It could help with we could help with coordination and a number of things like that that would make the opposition more visible in the wider world.
Well, I think the concern would not be that the opposition party wouldn't appreciate American support, but would the rest of the nation respond kindly to, let's say, a CIA-backed coup, effectively? I mean, the U.S. got involved in the Iranian overthrow in 1953, right? That was a CIA-backed coup, and it led to years of discontent and ultimately the rise of this very regime that we're now complaining about. How can we be so sure that whoever replaces the current Ayatollah is going to be more sympathetic to American interests and less likely to support Iranian nuclear capability?
Well, you know, the reinstallation of the Shah of Iran in the 1950s was a great success. He lasted for 25 years. The fact is that opposition is widespread inside Iran. Just to give you a few examples, the economy has been in terrible shape for a number of years. There were riots across the country in 2018, 2019, brutally put down by the regime. But since the economy hasn't improved, economic dissatisfaction across the country remains at very high levels. The young people under 30 or 60% of the Iranian population, they can see they can have a different kind of life. They just look across the Gulf and it's right in front of them. The ethnic groups, which, depending on your estimate, constitute between 40 and 50% of the population, non-Persians, those are Azeris, Kurds, Baluchis, Arabs, very dissatisfied with the Ayatollahs. And ever since the murder 2 years ago of Mahsa Amini, a young Kurdish woman whom the regime murdered for the crime of not wearing the hijab properly, you saw the demonstrations then, the female part of the population very dissatisfied, really in a challenge that goes directly to the legitimacy of the Ayatollah's claim to speak the word of God that all Iranians have to follow. So you put all that in top of a potential succession crisis. I think the potential for a popular revolution is really very, very large.
Ambassador, we're almost out of time. Now, I would personally take issue with your characterization of the rule of the Shah as a success. I mean, to my mind, the Shah had a repressive regime and an autocratic and corrupt regime that led to support for Ayatollah Khomeini and the Islamic Revolution. But not setting that aside for a second, if there is not this organic opposition that you hope for in Iran that sort of comes to victory peacefully, what do we do? Like, if 1 or 2 or 3 years from now the current regime is still in place, what do we do about that?
Well, we should make the sanctions more effective. They're not being effectively enforced now and haven't been for some time. And I think we have to be continually on watch for the recreation of the nuclear weapons program and take military action where it's appropriate. You know, you have to look at the picture of successful popular uprisings around the world, from Solidarity in Poland against the communists. The population of Iran pre-1979 was sophisticated, educated, and very pro-West. The Shah was a real force against the Soviet Union. And people in Iran remember those days, look back on them fondly. This is not a popular regime. And people who say it's inevitable it's going to stay in power, really, I think, are very short-sighted.
We've got about 30 seconds left here, Ambassador, and I apologize, it is one that deserves more time, but what do you make of the argument that taking out Saddam Hussein helped to empower Iran to get the regional chops that it has now to pose such a threat to the Middle East and the U.S.?
You know, since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran has been trying to achieve hegemony within the Muslim faith and across the Middle East. The criticism I would make of what we did after overthrowing Saddam was we didn't turn our attention more fully to the threat posed by Iran. If we had been stronger in opposing their nuclear weapons program 20, 25 years ago, we wouldn't have the difficulty we have today. But successive U.S. administrations proved what Winston Churchill once referred to as the confirmed unteachability of mankind, and wouldn't deal with it effectively. That's why we're dealing with it the way we are today.
Ambassador John Bolton, thanks for joining us on Rising.
Thank you.
Next up, Elon Musk and President Trump are each doing their part to escalate their feud. Stay with us.